I think we spend a lot of time thinking about what happens before we move abroad, but not enough time thinking about what happens after you land. But what I realized really quickly is that moving abroad isn't just about the big decision. It's also about the small things you set up before you leave or the things you figure out in real time. Things like how to access your money, how to get around, how to stay connected. Even things that most people don't think about, like keeping a US phone number active for things like banking and two-factor authentication. Before I left the US, I set up a plan with US Mobile. That lets me keep my US number. It costs me about $225 a year, which amounts to about $18.75 per month. I also made sure I had a US address set up by using a virtual mailbox. I use a company called MyRVmail. There's a small setup fee and then a monthly fee. But they scan your mail so you can see exactly what's coming in and decide what to forward, keep, or discard. Those are the kind of things that make your transition go smoother before you get on an airplane. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through what my first 48 hours look like. Getting cash, setting up a SIM card, using taxis, and starting the housing process. I'm sharing my experience here in Tirana, Albania, but my experience can apply no matter where you decide to move abroad. So let's take a look at what those first 48 hours look like. When I landed in Albania, I felt prepared. I had done the research, I had a plan. Before I arrived, I used an eSIM from Airalo just to have temporary data when I landed. But everything still felt new in a way you can't fully anticipate until you're actually there. One of the first things you want to figure out is access to your money. In Albania, that means cash, and not just any ATM. You want to look for machines that are attached to a bank, not standalone ones, just for added security. I use a Charles Schwab account, which has no minimum balance, and they reimburse ATM fees at the end of each statement cycle. And no matter where you move, having a debit card that works internationally and doesn't charge you every time you withdraw cash makes a big difference. The next thing is getting connected. In Albania, there are a couple of main options like Vodafone and One Albania, and getting a local SIM card right away makes your life a lot easier. At the same time, I still keep my US number active because you need it for things like banking and two-factor authentication. That's something a lot of people don't think about until they actually need it. Then it's the basics, finding your way around your immediate environment, grocery stores, small produce markets, places to grab coffee. Albania has a strong coffee culture, so even something as simple as getting coffee becomes part of your daily rhythm. And whenever you move, learning your neighborhood early on is one of the quickest ways to start feeling more grounded. Transportation is another adjustment. For me, taxis became part of my routine right away. Every country has its own system, whether it's taxis, apps, or public transportation. But figuring out how to get around early makes everything else seem more manageable. And then there's housing. That's when things really start to feel real, when you begin looking for where you're actually going to live, not just where you're staying temporarily. It shifts you from being a visitor to starting to building a life. You can prepare as much as you want before you move abroad, but those first 48 hours are really about learning how to move through a new environment, getting comfortable with the basics, and figuring things out one step at a time. And if you're thinking about moving abroad, this is just the beginning. There's a lot more to consider before you make that move. I've put together a free checklist that walks you through the basics. If you're serious about making a move, it's in the description below.